What's up, guys? This is gonna be another net decking series, part two, basically for Tengu plan format. So I took a deck to locals and I got first place with Necro's zombie list. So Necro is a member on the Discord for TBT. TBT stands for Tengu Plant Town. So if you guys are interested in Tengu Plant format, there is a Discord out there you can just join. But anyways, Necro for a couple of I think it was a Tengu Rumble event. Took zombies to a Tengu Rumble, and I think he got top 8 or top 4, one of those two numbers. But zombies in general has not been very much explored in Tengu Plant format, so I decided to showcase his deck list. And yeah, this is actually a pretty good list, I would say. So we're gonna go through it. He plays the two Zombie Master in the main deck. Zombie Master's 1800 stat actually is relevant because it is an 1800 attack monster. So Reborn Tengu gets run over by this guy for the most part. So you can just summon this guy blank without actually having a zombie monster, and this actually contests the Reborn Tengu. So it's a really good card, of course, if it's zombies. You're able to do a lot of extension plays, being able to revive zombie monster by pitching a monster out of your hand. This is really good because it can access Revive King Hades, and that's another tool that zombie has to make sure that Reborn Tengu doesn't resolve when it gets destroyed by the zombie monster. And then also being able to discard the Mizuki or Plague is really good in this deck. So yeah, he plays 2 copies. So my list differs from Necro because I only own 2 goblin zombies. I would say is sufficient, but he does play 3. Instead of the 3 goblin zombies, I decided to play 2 pyramid turtles, where he plays only 1. I think Pyramid Turtle actually was MVP of the tournament that I went to, because Pyramid Turtle does 2 things where it walls off an attack, but it also allows you to stall against decks that play Skill Drain. Decks that are able to establish a big monster and then attack over your monsters. The idea behind Pyramid Turtle is that you can stall a little longer until you get into the Goblin Zombie play, where you can just tribute summon for a monster. That's what I really like about Pyramid Turtle, and its stats are kind of okay. It does run over Tour Guide if you are Valoring the Tour Guide, much like all the other zombies in your deck. Most important card in the deck is probably Plague because you need this to Synchro Summon. I don't think there's another way you can Synchro Summon in this deck besides using the Plague Spreader Zombie. Because this deck doesn't play the Diva, as Edison does play Diva to Synchro the zombies, Diva has ultimately been cut from most people's decks in Tengu Plan format from Edison because Tour Guide is just simply a better card than Diva. Because Tour Guide gets you a Sangan and then Sangan gets you a Search. And in rank, going to an instant rank 5 or rank 3, Leviathan Dragon is a 25 beat stick, whereas TT Diva would have to play Gilman, and Gilman's not a very good card, and you would have to go into a level 5 Synchro, which charges Teach Hyper Librarian, which is the strongest one, and it's only a 2400 attack, so Leviathan Dragon is just simply better. Um, but of course, with Plague Better Zombie, if it is banished, you can actually fetch it back with Levier, which is why you play the Tour Guide engine in this deck. So a really cool little engine here. I do play the Mizuki, of course. So this is the all the zombie package, I believe. No, there's also more. The Mizuki is really important because it is a 1700 attack monster that you can just crash into Tengu, but also being able to revive zombies after you get destroyed by Torrential Tribute or Dark Hole. Mizuki's ability to revive a zombie monster at will is really important in this deck, especially when you pair it off with the Spirit Reapers. Spirit Reaper was actually really good in this tournament because a lot of times when my opponent would lose their monster, or if I find a way to clear all their monsters, and I'm able to do direct attacks with this, this generates me a +1. Spirit Reaper also walls off against a lot of monsters as well. So if I'm playing against a Skill Drain deck and they don't have Skill Drain, Spirit Reaper walls off every single big monster in the game. So even under like a Necro Valley, which is this deck's Bane, this actually works against decks that play Necro Valley in a beat stick, such as Malefic, Skill Drain Beat. Against plants, I think this card is really good because a lot of people main deck Thunder King Ryo, and they're expecting to get a +1 off the Thunder King Ryo by attacking over a Goblin Zombie or, yeah, just Goblin Zombie. But the Spirit Reaper walls off Thunder King Ryo, so basically you can deal with Thunder King Ryo the next turn by summoning cards like Tour Guide, which is a staple in this deck, Tour Guide, and Sangan. So yeah, of course, with the with the release of Tour Guide, there's no need to play Diva. And I guess if you want to go into other synchro plays, it's fine because Diva can go into level 7 synchros. But then playing the Gilman feels pretty bad. So most of the time, Gilman is actually cut from zombie lists anyways. So Deep Sea Diva only really gets you a it's basically a fancy level 4 tuner, and especially in with Max C in the main decks of a lot of decks, you don't want to summon Diva and to go into another Diva because if you synchro summon, then they're getting a plus what is it, a +2, +1, sorry, off the Max C. So you never want to be in that position. So of course, to extend on the Spirit Reaper, this deck plays the 2 Kais as well. The Kais is really nice because a lot of people have decided to cut this deck card from the deck because Valor and Warning is a thing, and nobody wants to like tribute a monster for Kais when it is going to get Warning or Valored. You rather prefer to get Valored on the Kais than Warning, but Warning at least is only at 2 in this format, and it wastes like 2,000 life points. So there are tricks with Kais, and he is also a Dark Monster as well. So it's really nice to have Kais in the main decks of these formats. One Dark Arm because Dark Arm is Dark Arm. It's a really good card in this deck because you can modulate the number of darks in your graveyard by using Book of Life in this deck, but also Zombie Master as well as Mizuki. Play can also come out of the graveyard by top decking, so automatically you can just make one card, come out from the graveyard. But yeah, Dark Arm was really good in the tournament as well. Gores and 2 Trags, really good little hand traps that you can play in this deck in case you're struggling with people's big boards. You can just block them out. One Maxi, I've seen a lot of trend in the TPT Discord to only try the one Maxi because it's searchable by Sangan. So it makes a lot of sense because if you play against stun decks, you don't want to have Maxi. Against stun though, I did resolve a Maxi so I can get a draw off the Tengu when I declare an attack with the Zombie Master. But it's basically a fancy upstart goblin in stun matchups when you deal with Reborn Tengu. 2 Valors in the main deck because again you can search it with the Sangan, but if you don't search off a Sangan, it's just a nice little trap card from your hand that you can just use in case your opponent just uses Heavy Storm or 3 MSTs to destroy your back row. The hand trap really comes in handy in case they deal with your back row and they try to do a push. Okay, so let's go into the spell lineups. The Econ was an interesting choice here. Necro doesn't actually play Mind Control in his main deck, and I always find that peculiar because Mind Control is really good if you can take a Thunder King Ryo and then take it and then overlay with one of your monsters. But the idea behind Enemy Controller is that you can take a big monster and attack with it. It also has the defensive ability to be able to put a monster in defense mode. And Thunder King Ryo only has like 800 defense, if I'm correct about that. So you can summon like small monsters to run over Thunder King Ryo by shifting over the Thunder King Ryo to defense position. So yeah, that's really cool about that. Yeah, in some cases you can actually steal someone's Sangan. So you can go Tour Guide to Sangan, tribute the Sangan for enemy controller, take their Sangan, overlay with it, so they can't get a search. So I can see the application of enemy controller in this deck, and it's kind of cool. One Book of Moon because Book of Moon's out 1 in this format, and you're gonna need some sort of disruption anyway. Another way to out Thunder King Ryo. We have the 2 Book of Life in this deck as well. Book of Life is really nice against decks that utilize graveyards. So if you're playing against plants that need their Dandelion in the graveyard or Spore or Glow Bulb, this spell card actually interacts with those cards so that you can take it off the graveyard so they can't use it anymore. And then you can also revive one of your zombie monsters from your graveyard. And you'll always have zombies in graveyard, but some cases you can be zombie starved and not have a zombie in your graveyard. So sometimes you want to go Tour Guide to Sangan to search for the zombie and then play the zombie out so that it goes to the graveyard somehow. Dark Hole makes sense in this deck because it is one of those cards that you could use to try to since you have a lot of floaters, you can use this to like pretty much make all your zombies go to the graveyard, but they come back anyways because of Mizuki's ability or Goblin Zombies to be able to search. Just a really good card in this deck. One Smashing Ground randomly. Instead of playing the Mind Control, he opted to go for the Smashing Ground, and I kind of like the Smashing Ground. Especially since you're going to compare this off with the Spirit Reaper. The Spirit Reaper needs to do a direct attack. And so Smashing Ground, if you don't want to waste your, if you don't want to Dark Hole your board because you want to have the Spirit Reaper live, you can Smashing Ground the monster and then summon a Spirit Reaper, or just shift the Spirit Reaper to attack position and attack directly. So Smashing Ground becomes like a +1 If you think about it, if you compare it off with the Spirit Reaper, I had my opponent play a Steelstorm Roach on me because they think that Roach could stop the synchro plays, but Roach is not really good against the deck because Tour Guy can go into an Xyz monster, and then there's also Trag as well, and then we have Smashing on top of that. So never make a Roach against zombies. I wouldn't say that it's really good. And then we have the spell and trap removal. He only plays the one MST, which is really surprising to me because if you play against a skill drain deck and they resolve skill drain, you're kind of like trying to fish for cards that could bypass a skill drain. Granted, you do have the Book of Moon and the enemy controller to be able to bypass skill drain, but then you have to like do weird plays, and I don't want to waste too many cards to do that. But yeah, MST is really nice, but I would probably find room for at least one more. We have the one Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is just like Book of Life, but better because you don't have to revive a zombie monster. It was really good in the format, or it was really good in the tournament. Then we get the Heavy Storm because you need it. Let's go into the traps. We have the one Prison. The Prison is useful again for Thunder King Ryo if they try to attack you, but also because you're not really pressed for combo, you don't necessarily do your combo plays with zombies. You could just like grind them out with the D Prison when if they try to attack your monsters. You could just use, or you could just. It's just a really good card when you're like behind and ahead, where you can just like take out a monster and then you can just play your cards. Really good in tandem with the Spirit Reaper again, to be able to deal with the monster and then summon the Spirit Reaper and attack directly. So Spirit Reaper was actually really nice in this particular deck. One Mirror Force, Torrential, 2 Warning, and then the Bottomless. Bottomless in the main deck was the only thing that I was questioning about, but it makes a lot of sense because if you're playing against TG Stuns, which is the deck that you're supposed to main deck the MSTs for, the Bottomless actually deals with the Rush Rhino, or any of the control cards, or even Barbaros. And you want to be able to resolve this so that they have to waste their Forbidden Lance on this, on their monsters, so that they can keep it alive. And if they Forbidden Lance a monster, your monster is often bigger if they're trying to use the Barbaros to attack over it. So that's always nice addition to that. So yeah, a very good like 40 card deck. I really like this deck, and that's why I was able to do well with it on my locals on my first time trying this deck. So definitely recommend playing zombies for upcoming Tengu metas. Let's go into the side deck. Side deck, they Necro only plays the one DD Crow, and it makes a lot of sense because you can search off the you can search it off of the tour guide into the Sangan. So one thing I did miss about the zombie list was playing Call of Haunted. There's not a lot of cards in Edison format that locks out special summoning besides Vanity's Emptiness, and Christia is kind of only used sparingly in Agents. So if someone MSTs your back row and you chain Call the Haunted, you can get the Sangan after you detach it. So this list actually doesn't have the Call the Haunted play where you can just search for the Sangan twice. But after that, I mean, at DD Crow, it makes sense that you can just resolve the Sangan. But Sangan, after it gets attached and go to the graveyard, you would have to use like Monster Reborn to search again. So it makes sense that he only plays the one Crow, but only on the assumption that they had Call the Haunted. Yeah, I don't know what to think of it. I ended up not siding at all, I believe. Let me think. Did I play against anything that mattered? Oh yeah, I did side this against Fairy Heroes or any Christia decks because they try to crash out the Shining Angel in. And so if they're on the fourth summon of the fairy, you can just if they have like 4 fairies before the main phase, before the battle phase ends, you can just crow and then they all have 3. So that's kind of nice. Then we have the 2 Maxi as well. Maxi is really nice, especially when you side it against decks that special summon a lot. So agents. Actually, I don't say side Maxi for agents. I side this for plants mainly. So if you're playing the plant matchup, Maxi is really good. Or any decks that just likes combo, like Infernities. 2D prisons in addition to the addition to the 1D prison in the main deck. This is just more insurance to stop cards that play like summon a big monster, skill drain it. These are just outs to out those cards. We have the one Black Horn of Heaven because same logic where if you're playing against Malefic skill drain beat, you can just use this one card to out the big synchro, or you can use a one card out to stop the big monster from coming out. Debunk was mainly for Reborn Tengu. I never really used it for stopping hand traps, and it makes sense. You want to debunk a max C, but for the most part, I just simply used it so that I can stop Reborn Tengu from resolving. But I never resolved it once. But you could use it against recruiter decks as well to be able to banish recruiters when you destroy them by battle. But you don't really need that because you have Revive King Hadez. So debunk was, I think Necro really wanted to have something for Max C, and I can see why. Also, people side deck DD Crow again, so it makes sense that the debunk would negate the DD Crow. Leashing the Light, I didn't play against agents, but I did play against decks that played a lot of light monsters. But also, this outs Thunder King Ryo as well, and Christia. So if your opponent plays a Christia deck, you could just make your zombies bigger and then run over the Christia, which is nice. For the tournament, I actually forgot to put the 7 Tools of Bandit in the side deck because I was running late. So I actually forgot to put it, but I can't really tell you why Necro plays it. Necro plays this mainly probably to deal with skill drain, if I'm being honest, but also deep prison as well. It's also really nice if your opponent activates a warning and you go 7 tools, so they waste 2,000 life points and then you negated it. You can also negate a Solemn Judgment too as well. One Thunder King Ride on the side deck. Yeah, not sure why he only plays one. I guess there's not much room. 2 Forbidden Lance was really useful. So I really think this deck was tackling the fact that there was no, there was like a really good. It has a really good matchup against control decks that likes to use skill drain. So Lance is really nice against TG stun, and then we have the 2 MST as well. So just to round off the spell and trap removal, yeah, I definitely sided it against the Malefic skill drain beat because I could use this card to destroy their field spell, and then they would lose the Malefic monster. So that's kind of the idea. You can also use the MST too as well if they are under duality and they have a Gear Town up. You can hit the Gear Town, and then the Gear Town would miss timing, or it wouldn't miss timing, but they can't special summon because they're under duality. But another utility of this is that if they go Heavy Storm and you have a set MST and they have a Gear Town, you can chain MST to Heavy Storm, and then it'll destroy the Gear Town and it'll make miss timing because Heavy Storm has to resolve, destroy everything else. So that's really nice, a little addition to MST. So yeah, so this deck, even though it is a combo deck, it's able to do really well against control decks. Let's go into the rest. We have the Catastor, we have the TG Hyper Librarian. I don't think I made Hyper Librarian, but I did make Catastor to deal with monsters that are not dark. We have the Stardust. This is the only level 8 Synchro in this deck. Sorry, and then Scrap Dragon as well. This deck doesn't play Darken Dragon. Maybe because Darken's not that great in this format. But it does do more. Darken does something where Scrap Dragon doesn't. Is that it can send a monster to the graveyard, whereas this one destroys it. And also, Darken doesn't require a card to be destroyed by Scrap Dragon. So, where Scrap Dragon does. So I don't know what to think about that. The other synchro monsters are Orient Dragon. Never made it. I never made Black Rose. I did make a Brio once to bounce a set monster to go for game. The best card in this deck, I think, is the Revive King Hadez because it makes all your zombies be able to negate recruiter monsters, but also being able to negate Gloat Ball, Spore. If it's out there, you can attack over it, and then they won't be able to trigger its ability later. So it has a really nice ability. I made a Trish once for game. That was kind of nice, and that's all the synchro monsters that this deck plays. Plays 1 Leviair and 2 Leviathan Dragon. These are really clutch. If you're able to resolve 2 tour guides, you can make one of each or just both. Then we have the 2 Utopia and the Sealstorm Roach. Never made Roach. I don't even think Roach is even necessary anymore in today's format. Maybe if I go against agents, but like agents don't care. Because they can just make gachi gachi, so it's not that great. So that was my net decking series for Necro's zombie deck, and I really liked it. I played against TG Stun in the first round, and then I played Malefic Skill Drain Beat in the second round, and then Fairy Heroes in the third round. I think I dropped a game against Malefic. Yeah, I dropped a game against Malefic Skill Drain Beat, and that was it. Yeah. So that was the matchups, and yeah, that was the deck. I'll have some gameplay videos on a separate video, so if you guys want to watch it all, stay tuned for that. But that was Necro's. This was Necro's zombies mid-range deck, and I hope you guys enjoyed the videos, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.